Portsmouth Police Officer finds himself on the wrong side of the law. Eric Rogers admits to drinking 2 large beers before getting into a crash. That is according to new court documents. Now he faces DUI charges.
13 News Now reporter Ernie LeBeau is digging into those papers. And Ernie, what did you find?
Well, David and Regina, we found out that Officer Rogers actually didn't really have any issues with the field sobriety test, but he actually failed the breath test.
Portsmouth Police Officer Eric Rogers was arrested and charged for driving under the influence of alcohol. After court documents say he was involved in a crash at the intersection of Victory and Cavalier Boulevards in Portsmouth. It was Sunday, September 16th, just after 2 a.m. Rogers admitted to an officer at the scene that he drank 2 large beers before driving. And court documents say his speech was slow. He walked without swaying, but his pace was slow. Rogers took a field sobriety test along with a breath test, which he failed. He blew a .05 over the legal limit. He's been an officer with the Portsmouth Police Department for the last 5 years. We went to his home to speak with him, but no one answered the door. I also reached out to the department's spokesperson for comment, but have not heard back from them.
And Rogers is currently out of jail. I'm still waiting to hear back from the police department about what his current employment status is. I'm Ernie LeBeau, 13 News Now.